In a previous video, we talked about tagging questions to get feedback and information how students are doing on by standard. But what we can do too is we also can tag students to get additional information. So this video is going to talk about how to do that. What I have here is a class file, and I have one of my students pulled up. And you'll notice when I click on the student on the right hand side here, in the bottom, I have tags. What I could put here is any information that I would want to be able to compare student versus student. So what I normally would do with all students is put their gender. So in this case, we have a male student. This way, because I have the gender, when I run my reports, as you'll see in a later video, I can see how my males are doing versus my females. Another common thing that I would normally do is use a semicolon. Semicolons will separate your tags. I would put if this is a ELL student, an IEP student, honors student, stuff of that nature. So in this case, let's say he is an IEP student. This way I can see how are my general ed students doing versus my IEP students versus ELL. This is all going to be important data that we're going to be able to figure out later. Another option that we can do, and what's going to happen is when we use the semicolons, all these tags are going to show up on one report. So when we see reports in a future video, you'll see male, female, IEP, ELL, all in one report. And that's just some generalizations, and that's fine. But let's say we want to look at just our RTI data. We want to look at maybe tagging our students with RTI groups like red, yellow, and green, and I want to have that on a separate report. What I'm going to do is do another semicolon, and then what that's going to do is create a new tag, and I'm going to put RTI. But what I'm going to do differently here, instead of a semicolon, I'm going to put a colon, and then I'm going to say this kid is a green kid. And I would do this through all my students. And because I use that colon with RTI, I am now going to have a report later on that is just an RTI report that's going to show how are my green kids doing versus my yellow versus my red. And I can do that for other things such as maybe feeder schools. Um, like I said, we talked about RTI, we talked about any other type of group labeling that you can do. So anything that you potentially are going to want to put with your student, you can put in here. And one thing is different between tagging a student and tagging a question. When you tag a question, if you tag it after you've given the assessment, that data doesn't reconnect. It must be tagged before the assessment. But with the student, it doesn't matter when you tag that student, that data now goes in. So if you have a chance of, like, say you do RTI and a kid changes levels, you can change the level and it'll just change the report. If you accidentally mark somebody as a male and a female and vice versa, you change it and it changes the report. So it doesn't matter when you tag. So that's a nice thing about tagging students. So that's what it takes to tag students, and thank you.